Okay, so rounding out section 3.1, now that you have a little bit of an idea about how these symbols work and you've had a little bit of practice using them with 2 statements, we're going to look at what happens when there's 3 statements. And the most important thing here, I've given it to you as a little note, is that anytime there's more than 2 statements, you have to put 2 in parentheses, because that tells a person which 2 should be done first before applying it to the third. And the way you determine where those parentheses are going to be is by looking at the comma and where it occurs in the statement. Okay, so we have 3 statements here. You see these defined as P, Q, and R. All right, so what I'm going to do first, right, since I have multiple statements here, is I'm just going to go through and write each one in its symbolic form in terms of, is it a negation or is it just the event itself? Okay, so my first one here, the temperature is not 90 degrees. All right, that's dealing with P, but because of the not, that's actually the negation. All right, now the next thing that I'm seeing here, all right, the next statement says the air conditioner is working. Okay, that's exactly statement Q, no negation. And then the last one that I'm seeing here, the apartment is hot. And again, that's no negation, right? That is the exact statement R. Okay, then what I'm going to do is go back and look for any keywords, because that tells me what type of symbols I'm going to use to combine these statements together. So up here I have an and, right? That's a conjunction. Oops, sorry, I did that wrong. I did the disjunction. An and is the upside down V. And then down here I have a but, all right? And that is also interpreted as a conjunction, which is the upside down V. All right, now it's not correct if I come down here and I say not P and Q, but R. All right, because that doesn't let anybody know which 2 or which part of this statement should be done first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I'm going to search for the comma in the statement, all right, wherever that comma occurs. And in this case, it's before the but, right here, after Q. All right, wherever that comma occurs, I know I've got to have parentheses there. And then the way you know which direction those parentheses should go in terms of left or right is you got to have more than one item in parentheses. So it wouldn't make sense to put parentheses around the but R, because that's just one thing. All right, the parentheses are always going to go around 2 statements. Okay, so let's look at the next one here. All right, and let's approach it the same way. The temperature is 90 degrees. That's P. The air conditioner is working. That's Q. The apartment is not hot. That's the negation of R. All right, now, the first thing that I see here in terms of joining these statements together is an if, then. All right, if then is a one-directional arrow, right, between those 2 things. And then down here, I see an or, which is the disjunction. Okay, so again, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to write what I have first. Okay, I've got P, the conditional, I've got Q, or, and the negation of R. All I'm missing now is my parentheses. So I'm going to come back up here, right? I'm going to find that comma. That happens right after if the temperature is 90 degrees. All right? So what that means is that's going to come right here, right after the very first part. If the temperature is 90 degrees, and it's going to enclose the last 2 in parentheses. Again, it wouldn't make sense to put the P in parentheses because that's just one thing. All right, so it's got to go around 2 things, which is why I'm going to put it there around the Q or not R. Okay, and then last one, and again, I'm going to have you go back and work some of these too, with more than two. The temperature is not 90 degrees. That's the negation of P. If and only if the air conditioner is not working, that's the negation of Q. Or the apartment is not hot, that's the negation of R. All right, going back and looking for the keywords. If and only if, that's my biconditional, or that's my disjunction. Okay, so writing down what I have so far. I've got the negation of P, if and only if, the negation of Q, or the negation of R. And if I go back and I look at my comma, happens right here before the or, right? Or you could say it happens right after the if and only if. So I'm going to put it here, and then I'm going to go back and enclose the two things in parentheses, not P, if and only if, not Q. That has to come first. Then what comes after the comma, in this case after the parentheses, would be or, and the negation of R. Okay, again, these take practice, and you got to take them slow. You got to take them one piece at a time. Okay, so I've given you, again, I've got 5 problems listed here. And these are going to have you do both ways. They're going to have you take statements and write them symbolically. And then they're going to turn around and have you take symbols and determine those in words. So again, commas and parentheses go hand in hand. All right, so wherever the comma is, the parentheses should be. Wherever the parentheses are, that's where the comma should be. So keep that in mind as you're interpreting those statements. Okay, and again, these are practice, so feel free to use the help tools, all right, to kind of help you through. But go through and practice at least these 5. All right, and then once you're feeling pretty good, all right, about the notation that we're using here, then I want you to come back and watch my last video where I'm just going to give you a brief introduction into truth tables so that we can pick up from there on Wednesday.